us a favor as always. Tap that like button and go ahead and share this video. Let a friend know that the Uncensored Truth podcast is on. SamAnt, Bill Cosby. Let everybody know about Bill Cosby, you know, and him possibly getting a retrial and a lot of fishy things going on with that, the whole process there.
Yeah, man. Well, a couple of days ago, his prosecution team, or his defense team, excuse me, were out there saying that he was seeking a retrial because there was a lot of things going on against the lawyer. So let me go ahead and read a little bit of that, and then we'll get our 1-2 on it. An 8-page filing laying out the basis of their appeal. Cosby's lawyers focused on several instances they said introduced bias into the trial, including the judge's refusal to excuse a juror that the defense argued was unable to be fair and impartial. The defense asserted, that the juror in question was stated an inclination to believe Cosby guilty at the outset of the trial, and that fellow jurors were never interviewed to determine whether they heard the comment or were swayed by it. In addition, according to the filing, O'Neill failed to rescue himself or disclose a biased relationship with Bruce Castor, a former Montgomery County district attorney with whom defense lawyers say the judge had a confrontation. Cosby's lawyers have argued that Castor promised in 2005 that Cosby would not be prosecuted if agreed to sit for a sworn deposition in a civil suit brought against him by his accuser, former Temple University administrator Andrea Constant. The deposition, in which Cosby acknowledged giving sedatives called quaaludes to the young woman for purposes of having sex with them, was unsealed a decade later, and Castor's successor, District Attorney Kevin Steele, cited in as crucial piece of evidence when criminal charges were brought. The judge should not have allowed Cosby's civil deposition testimony of quaaludes to be introduced in his criminal trial, the defense said, arguing it was not relevant to Constant's allegation and was highly prejudicial because it included statements regarding the illegal act of giving a narcotic to another person. Cosby's attorneys also fought at the judge for allowing prosecutors to call as witnesses other accusers whose allegations the defense argued were too remote in time and too dissimilar to Constant's allegations. Moreover, the defense asserted that the prosecution expert who testified relied on hearsay evidence about 50 additional women who had leveled sexual misconduct allegations against Cosby. Here's where I'll end it. Under the state's appeals process, the trial judge will write an opinion by explaining his reasoning for the ruling the defense has challenged, and the matter will ultimately be decided by Pennsylvania's appeal level superior court. Oh God, your thoughts on this?
Pretty crazy, you know, all the stuff that you name there. But is it really likely, you know, that this is going to happen? Or, you know, it sounds good or whatever. I mean, some of the stuff, you know, but what's the likelihood of this actually happening?
The likelihood is good, but here's the kicker. Here's the thing that's worrying a lot of people out here. When I initially did the story, a lot of people were obviously very excited about what I said, the news that had came out, because a lot of people feel like the punishment doesn't fit the crime, given the fact that it was so much time that's gone by. This is hearsay. And although we heard him admit, and we both were very critical of the admission that he gave women quaaludes and that would ultimately get him, but now we're hearing that should have never even been in court. Does that justify the crime? Well, do we even know a crime was yet still committed? It's a very fishy situation. We want to see him gain a retrial because we want to see justice properly served if you feel as though justice wasn't served. That being said, if he does go into a retrial, the possibility of him getting an even worse sentence is likely. And that's very dangerous. And a lot of people in my comment section were very high on that. And that was great perspective, that the chance of him getting even worse a sentence is upon him. So I really don't know. And you were talking about yesterday, you were saying that, well, what else does he have to lose? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we have talked about it before in the past that a 10-year sentence for him might mean death. It's just too much stress and him to go through at his age. So at this point, everybody knows when you have a good defense attorney that they're always trying to set up for an appeal. So they throughout the whole trial, they were always setting up for this appeal. But you know, for them to say that it shouldn't, like we always agreed to also that whoever was on his first team messed up when they got him to actually admit that, because they came back to Biden. We had one of the jurors come out and say, look, the reason why we, you know, wanted to go that way is because of this, you know, the deposition that was happened back, you know, I forget what year it was when he gave the deposition that he did that. And it's like anything else, right? you can't trust the police or the law. Like his team should have never made that deal at that time to say, okay, we're going to say that we did it, but we're not going. You can't be prosecuted, criminally, only civilly. But it's on record, so it can always be used, and that could be used to sway a juror, as it was. No matter what agreement they made, once it came out that it was done, it was on paper, it was recorded. Now it could affect somebody's judgment, which it did. So bad job by his defense team. They should have found a way to settle civilly without him actually having to admit to it, but just paying the money up and putting a gag order and making it quiet after that. Big mistake early on from his legal team. That's just the way I look at it. So I think 10 years, I don't think that is being though it was so long and there's so much sketchy details to that case. I think 10 years is much. I would like to see a retrial and see, the proper, all the proper evidence be heard. Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask you a question. So we all know, according to the letter of the law, something like that in regards to evidence not being able to be substantial in court, that's huge. And the fact that that was used is very huge in the case of the defense on him getting a retrial. I think that's very, very substantial evidence right there. But that being said, we are very objective on the Uncensored Truth podcast. So I'm going to just be the devil's advocate, just ask you a question and just switch the role. Him admitting to giving these women Quaaludes, and obviously we know that shouldn't have been used in court, but does that justify it? Should he still, based off of his admission, deserve some kind of punishment?
Yeah, I think that off of his admission, he definitely deserves some type of punishment, because any way you look at it, you give somebody something like that and they don't know, and it's something that could, an intoxicant or a drug that can make them, whatever, then yeah, that should be a crime. 10 years, maybe a lot. A lot of people argue that was the drug of the time. People were using it, but that's something you really can't bring up in court too much because we can't really prove anything, which is another reason why I don't think that he should get 10 years, but he should get some type of punishment, in a form of, obviously, I'm sure he had to pay the victims back and all that, but the way they went making him seem like he was like a sexual predator, violent predator. They put this, stigma on him. I don't think that was right. Stripped him from a lot of things. But I don't know. I don't want to be in a position. I'm not in law enforcement to really put years on it. But I do think that 10 years is too long for something that happened so long ago.
This is the thing I wish we could hear the actual conversation. I know we don't deserve it, and we probably never will, between how Cosby said it, because like we were talking about, and no one condones a woman being date raped. No one condones anybody being drugged. Nah, absolutely not. That's monstrous. That's disgusting. That's heinous. Never do anything like that. But we also talk about the time. Early on 2018, we talked about how a story came out with Marlon Brando, excuse me, and Richard Pryor, and how they allegedly had a sexual encounter together through Quincy Jones, and how everybody was saying that's taboo, that's this, but that was just the time. We took Quaaludes, we did this, we did that. People would just fuck. That's what we did. So Cosby was right up under that time. So was it a situation like, well, did you give this woman Quaaludes? Well, yeah, we all gave people Quaaludes. Oh, he gave him Quaaludes. But did she know it? Was it something that everyone was just doing? Did he slip something in her drink unknowingly? Or did he slip something in her drink and they know because it was the time? Right. I wish we could have just kind of heard how that was said, because just seeing it and saying that he said, yeah, I gave her Quaaludes, just automatically gives us the assumption of guilt. Yeah, he did it.
So you're saying it's a possibility that maybe she was popping them joints. Yeah, probably. And then, found a way, to come back later and just lied. Because we see situations now where people had consensual relationships with people and we know that they're lying.
I'm going to say it like this, because we're going to be objective. We don't know. Therefore, he does not deserve 10 years in prison for something we don't know.
But it's going with her word.
Happened 30 years later.
Yeah,
they're going on the narrative.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we don't know if she said, okay, cool, let me do this. We don't know if she said absolutely not. We don't know. And then it's just everything that just went on. It's just so, all the evidence behind it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't justify a man being taken out of his life for 10 years. Does he deserve punishment if he did this willingly? Absolutely. What the number is, we're not in the judicial system. Like you said, we don't know. What does NBC play a role in this? Because we all hear about that. In your opinion,
in what way? What do you mean?
Him attempting to purchase it, NBC, right? And we heard the rumbles of that. Do you think that this plays a role right now in why Bill Cosby sits behind bars?
Well, it's hard for me to say that because he didn't get it. Now, if he would have got NBC, they said he was so. The narrative that people are trying to say, well, he tried to purchase NBC. Now we're gonna go back and destroy him. No, he didn't get it. So I mean, I don't think it's because of that, but I will say it's because probably, you know, it could be just my, you know, theory on it is because of the type of image that he had and the type of power that he amassed and wealth and fortune,
right?
You know, he amassed being squeaky clean for all these years. It's almost like we got to find some speck of dirt on these guys. There's no way, like nobody could be, you know, 100% clean like this. We got to pull this out on them. So, you know, that could be the case, or it could be just, you know, this guy's just 100% total, you know, scumbag, you know, whatever. You know, I don't think it's the latter. You know, I think he's really a good guy. Just got caught up in a lot of bad situations in his life. And if he did do that, though, if he did put, you know, a drug, a quaalude, you know, in a woman's drink without her knowing in order to penetrate her, have sex, fondle or whatever, that's wrong. That's disgusting. He should be, you know, prosecuted at that time. It's later on, you know, but I can't see 10 years. It's just hard for me to see 10 years for something like that. You know, nobody's died. You know, it's just hard, to be real.
Oh God, what happened to the whole Me Too movement in general, and the Matt Lauers of the world, the Kevin Spaceys of the world, the who else is that other disgusting piece of shit that's out there? The main one, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, right.
Where they names at, bro?
Well, I think it's still ongoing with those, man.
What the hell is it? Like, it was very fast when it came to Cosby. It feels like because it came out
America,
all at the same time.
You know, this is America. To respect.
You defending it?
I'm just saying it's America. I'm not defending it at all. I'm just telling you what it is. We know what it is. Some people want to get, you know, that the shit end of the stick. Some guys aren't, you know, depending on a lot of different factors. So we know that.
Do you think more media outlets and places that were so keen on getting Cosby and really just putting out the evidence that he was a monster need and deserve or need to hold a responsibility, excuse me, on the women that came out against these monsters, because it was so important to get them behind bars, because it seems like fucking crickets nowadays. You just don't hear anything. It's almost like it's forgotten about. It never happened.
Right. So you saying that it was all formulated to pull down Cosby?
As of right now, it looks like it was a witch hunt to pull down Cosby. Until anything else is proven to me, it kind of looks that way, because you had testimony from women in Hollywood attesting to these things. You had Kevin Spacey, who dealt in pedophilia and still have jobs and still do their thing. And we don't hear and these monstrous accusations and things happen way sooner than 30 years ago. We're talking 10, 15 years ago. Kill Bill came out, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? That happened soon. Like, you know what I mean? So why don't we hear about this stuff?
I don't know, man. I mean, the people out there have to answer that question. I really can't answer that. You know, I can't.
Well, the comment section, the floor is yours. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead and answer that question, you know, for us, man. But yeah, man, that was definitely a good segment talking about Bill Cosby. So we'll keep y'all updated, you know, on both platforms, you know, when there is word if he gets a new trial, you know, or not. But yeah, man, you're tuned into the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother Old God and SamAnt, going in on this Tuesday night. If you're listening on YouTube, y'all already know what to do. Do us two favors: hit that like button and make sure that you share this video. SamAnt,
it's only one.